Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with me, Steve Saul. Our top story. Keeping our streets safe. Police seize hundreds of knives from China at a mail sorting office. And those weapons are being sold for pocket money prices. Also tonight, how the wet winter weather will affect the price we pay for our vegetables next year.
U-boat versus cargo ships and escort. And depth charges are fired as vigilant naval vessels bear down on the spot.
The secret war games that helped win the Second World War. A new book tells the untold stories of the Liverpool Wrens.
And we'll be live in Manchester City Centre for day 3 of our Pudsey push around the region for children in need.
We visited a couple of schools. One of us, as you can see, had our face painted. And we also went to a couple of world-famous football clubs.
Roger, you look gorgeous.
Thank you,
We've
Owen.
arrived at the fabulous Christmas market in Manchester City Centre, where the welcome has been warm. What about the weather? I'll be back with all the details.
And more from Team Pudsey a bit later on, but first tonight, teenagers are buying knives for pocket money prices, according to Greater Manchester Police. Officers found hundreds of imported knives during a spot check at a Royal Mail sorting office. Police say the vast majority of weapons recovered would not be available in the shops, but children as young as 13 are ordering them online. Eunice Muller reports.
Lethal weapons seized, but originally destined for the streets of Greater Manchester, bought quite easily and cheaply.
We've termed them pocket money weapons. For example, this knuckle duster will be selling for about £5, but what really concerns me, besides the knuckle duster, is what's inside it. So it's actually a flick knife as well. Completely and utterly illegal in the UK. You cannot buy these.
So how are they ending up here?
They're being ordered online and mainly packaged and delivered and sent over from China.
Operation Concept is a partnership with the UK Border Force and Royal Mail. In one 2-hour period, officers recovered more than 100 knives.
The knives we recovered on that particular day were destined for the whole northwest of England. But yes, if you look at the number of parcel depots that exist in the UK, if what we discovered is replicated, then we are talking 1,000 a week or more.
Most of those knives seized, police say, were bought from this internet platform based in the United States. It's now working with Greater Manchester Police to stop those knives getting into the UK. But you only need to download an app from another website, this time based in China, to see that you can purchase a knife easily for just a few pounds. Criminals will be prosecuted, but this is not just about enforcement.
If we see that the intended recipient was a child, well, that raises a number of questions with me that I think can only be answered in partnership with education, youth justice, social care maybe.
This charity in Preston works with youngsters to tackle knife crime.
It's not going to stop it. The kids don't trust him, they won't speak to him. It needs people like myself and people in the community that they look up to and trust to go out there and make a change. And it's all very well having these meetings and conferences, but they need to invite the right people down there to get their voices across.
Wish.com told us today we take the listing or sale of illegal knives on our UK platform very seriously. We have been and will continue to deploy reactive measures to remove listings of illegal knives.
It is known nationally that this is a problem. Maybe we're one of the first groups that have actually gone out and proactively started recovering them and identifying where they were going to. But there are steps in place to manage this, and I'm sure going forward legislation, one thing or another, will do that.
The focus here remains some of these deadly weapons getting into the wrong hands. Eunice Muller, BBC North West Tonight.
Right, on to the election then, and the Liberal Democrats are being talked about as the party that could make all the difference in the marginal seats here in the North West. Today, the former Labour and Change UK MP Anne Coffey, seen here on the right, threw her backing behind Wendy Meikle, the Lib Dem candidate in Stockport, saying she's the best choice for people in Stockport. But tonight, the party's candidate for the High Peak has apparently been dropped for encouraging people to vote Labour to stop Brexit. He's in Buxton now with our political editor, Nina Warhurst. Hi, Nina.
Hi Steve, yeah, another fascinating twist in this already extraordinary election. Let's speak to Guy now. Let me get one thing straight then. You are going to be walking through Buxton with a Lib Dem rosette on, whispering to people, go on, vote Labour.
Well, that's not quite the case. When we started out, nobody knew how things would turn out in High Peak, but now it's very clear that if I stand all guns blazing, I'll take a lot of votes away from the Labour candidates, and that will end up with the Tory candidate winning here. And obviously I wanted to stop that. So I was planning actually to say, I'll be your candidate, but if you look at the tactical voting recommendations, you'll see that Labour's the best option.
Jo Swinson will say people of Buxton, of High Peak, deserve an outright revoke Article 50 candidate. That's what Liberal Democrats want.
I think actually what people deserve is to have the best chance of forming a Remain alliance. Now, Jo Swinson's done a great job of negotiating with Plaid and the Greens. I really, really hope that she can reopen negotiations with Jeremy Corbyn at this late hour in the hope of forming that broad Remain alliance.
Has her conduct been right? She's refused a second vote. Is that the right thing to do? Is her message correct?
No, I think the Lib Dems have always been the party of the people's vote, and we've said all along that unless we form a government with a majority, we will have that second vote. So
okay, so you don't approve of her conduct. And finally, what would you say to people in Buxton tonight, in High Peak, who are really confused, who wanted to vote Liberal Democrat and aren't sure what to do now?
I think look at the tactical voting recommendations. It's very clear that it's a very tight race between Labour and the Tories, and if you want the best chance of forming, let's call it a Remain-ish alliance, then do the right thing and go for Labour in this constituency. What I will say is that I know that talks are going on in Hazel Grove tonight. That's a neighbouring constituency. Labour are discussing standing down their candidate in that constituency, so there would be a reciprocal arrangement there. In the absence of leaders negotiating that, I think candidates must do that themselves.
OK, Gary, many thanks. So no official pact between Remain candidates, Labour and Liberal Democrats in the North West at the moment, but nominations don't close until tomorrow. After that, 28 days where some of those agreements, those tactical agreements might emerge. You never know. 28 days to go and counting.
Nina, in Buxton, thanks very much indeed. Now, some more stories making the news tonight. The Labour Party says it's standing by its general election candidate for Liverpool West Derby. That's despite him being accused of making sexist comments. Ian Byrne apologised for online posts about Conservatives Esther McVeigh and Michelle Mone. There had been calls for him to quit the election, but Labour's ruling body has now cleared the way for him to stand on the 12th of December. Engineers are investigating ways to stop flooding at two major roads in Cheshire. Heavy rains forced the A555 near Hanforth and the A34 near Alderley Edge to close on several occasions this year. Now, farmers here in the northwest say they're struggling to sow their winter crops due to the prolonged wet weather. It seems many vegetables are now rotting in the fields, and that means prices could rise in the run-up to Christmas. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
This is a field of wheat, but every inch of it is ruined.
We sowed in September, and as you can see, the crop is basically finished. It's got so waterlogged now.
So obviously it looks like there's two lakes on it at the moment.
Yes.
We've even seen swans.
Yes.
What should it be looking like now?
It should be a carpet of green.
The land all over this area is so waterlogged, Lisa has only managed to sow 30% of her cereal crops.
The fact the crop hasn't gone in now means that we'll get lower yields, so we'll have less to sell when we harvest next year. And it then means that we have a lot more work to do in the spring to try and get spring crops in so that we've got something to harvest.
Vegetable crops aren't faring much better. These potatoes should already be in the shops.
The last 25% we're unable to get the machines onto to harvest. As you can see from all the water that's lying, that's where we've been getting stuck because the machinery is just sinking into the ground.
A few miles away near Preston, it's a similar story.
We can't work the soil when it's this wet.
H&P Ascroft grow vegetables, including cauliflowers. In total, the company has lost around £100,000 due to the wet autumn.
I've never known it just as wet for so long in the 50 years that I've been farming. And it costs so much to put a crop in. You've got a big investment there, and if the weather just turns on you, you can lose the whole investment. Thousands and thousands, yes.
It means the prices of vegetables could now rise in the supermarkets, while many farmers could struggle to pay the bills at an already uncertain time for the industry.
we're ever optimistic that things might change, that it might dry up next week. But yes, certainly Brexit is adding to the stress of farming, and it's an uncertainty that a lot of us could do without.
Farmers say they're praying for a long dry spell if there's any chance of salvaging some of the vegetable crops. These cereals, however, will be lost for this year. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Lydiate on Merseyside.
We'll be catching up with Team Pudsey in just a moment, but first, one of the untold stories of Liverpool in the Second World War is now the subject of a new book. A Game of Birds and Wolves by the journalist Simon Parkin tells the remarkable tale of the women who devised secret plans which helped the Allies win the Battle of the Atlantic. Our reporter Alex Bell has been to the Western Approaches Museum in Liverpool, where the events unfolded.
U-boat versus cargo ships and escort, and depth charges are fired as vigilant naval vessels bear down on the spot.
The Battle of the Atlantic was a decisive victory, but few know how one group of women working underground in Liverpool helped to win it.
In 1941, Britain was under a stranglehold, besieged and surrounded by the German U-boat. This necessitated a new way of strategising, and it was here, deep below this unassuming building in Liverpool, that the plans were drawn up.
The Germans realised that if they could attack the merchant ships that were bringing food and fuel from the coast of America, then there was a chance they could starve Britain into surrender. And because the ships were coming into Liverpool, it made sense for the base of operations to sort of orchestrate the battles that were happening in the Atlantic to be here in Liverpool.
Derby House was used for naval war games. These complex, simulated battles calculated the optimal conditions the Allies could create in order to outrun and outsmart the U-boats, and they were masterminded by figures from the Women's Royal Naval Service.
A group of 10 wrens were hand-picked by a lady called Nancy Osborne, specifically for their aptitude at mathematics and statistics and gamesmanship. It was tactical, it was quieter, it sort of involved wrens measuring distances on a linoleum floor using chalk and bits of string. And over the weeks and over the months, many of the wrens, in their own right, became highly accomplished U-boat hunters, really.
Why do you think some of these stories have been so overlooked until now?
Yeah, so at the end of the war, certainly the young women were still in their early to mid-20s, and I think many probably felt that it wasn't their place to tell their stories, so it's only really now that some of these stories are being properly told.
Sadly, none of the wrens are alive today, but Simon pieced together their stories using diaries, interviews and never-before-seen photographs. The book sheds new light on their role in the war.
There are, of course, a wide variety of reasons for why the Allies won the Second World War, but I would say that the work that Watteau achieved here at Derby House was central to that.
As we remember the sacrifices made by so many, this is one story which will not be forgotten. Alex Bell, North West Tonight in Liverpool.
That's it from me in the studio for now. It's been another busy day for Pudsey around Manchester. Well, I say busy, he's just been sitting there while Roger, Annabelle and Owain have done all the pushing. How's it going, guys?
Hi, Steve. Hello from everybody here in Manchester city centre. Little bit rude about Pudsey. Pudsey has worked very hard today. He's got a lot of people coming up, giving him cuddles, wanting selfies. It has, again, been a fantastic day.